Hello, friends, and welcome to another edition of TXN Sports World. I am your host, Anthony Florio, joined as always by good old MF Michael Fletcher. We are perhaps awaiting the presence of Michael Bullock. If he comes in, we'll catch him up on what he missed. If not, then we hope to have him back with us Saturday night for the Saturday night Cerebral Smack Talk. Right now, dive right on in. Some big trades have gone down in the NBA, and this one that has crossed the wire. Whoa. My goodness. That's all I'm going to say here. And then after we talk about these NBA trades, we will acknowledge the Hockey Hall of Fame class of 2023. MF will set the table for week one of the Big Three, which starts weekend, and then wrap it up in our main event with our preview of the UFL semifinals. So with all that, let's dive right on in to the big trades in the NBA. Of course, it's already a big night for the NBA as it is, as tonight is the NBA draft. And 1 week from tonight, we will have our NBA draft recap special. And time permitting, we will have as well, MF will talk about week two of the Big Three, and we will preview the USFL championship game. So that'll be next week. But let's get into these trades. And the first trade, several days after agreeing to send Bradley Beal to the Phoenix Suns in exchange for a package including Chris Paul, the Washington Wizards agreed to send the future Hall of Fame point guard to the Golden State Warriors today for Jordan Poole, sources told ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski. The Wizards are also receiving a protected 2030 first-round pick and a 2027 second-round pick from Golden State in the deal, sources said. Washington began its roster overhaul under the basketball operator Michael Winger on Sunday, when it agreed to his no-trade clause to be the Suns. That deal was completed today, with the Wizards receiving Chris Paul and Landry Shamet, first-round pick swaps in 2024, 2026, 2028, and 2030. Second-round picks from 24 through 2028, plus 2030, and cash from the Suns in the deal. Phoenix also received Jordan Goodwin and Isaiah Todd from the Wizards. Then in a separate deal, Paul went to Golden State in exchange for Poole, the draft compensation from the Warriors. The two sides agreed to wait to officially complete the Beal trade, so the Wizards would have time to relocate to a third team in the deal to recoup additional assets part of the deal. That team turned out to be Golden State, where Paul winds up after spending the past decade facing the Warriors in the play over and over again, as Golden State's new general manager Mike Dunleavy Jr. makes the first significant move of his tenure after taking over Bob Myers last week. Chris Paul averaged 14.9 assists for the Suns last season across 59 games, and he gives the Warriors a different way to attack defenses when Stephen Curry is off the court. Although after starting every single game of his career thus far, 1,214 regular season games and 149 postseason games, Paul is likely to be ticketed for a reserve role in what will be his NBA. While neither team had announced the trade, Paul was about it tonight. He said, "I'm excited," he told the Charlotte Observer. "I'm really excited." Paul also said he's already talked to Steph Curry, calling the conversation good. Paul also has a $30 million expiring contract compared with the 4 years and $140 million left on the extension Poole signed before the start of last season, removing a significant chunk of money from Golden State's future books as the Warriors navigate the harsher penalties on big spending teams imposed by the league's new collective bargaining agreement. The Warriors have to sort out the possibility of a new contract with franchise cornerstone Draymond Green after he opted out of his contract earlier this month and became a free agent. Washington will get Poole, who will step into the ring shooting guard spot vacated by Beal in the trade, and as part of a newly formed starting backcourt for the Wizards that has come together in the last 24 hours. Washington had previously agreed to send Kristaps Porzingis to the Boston Celtics late last night, shortly before his midnight deadline, to pick up his $36 million player option for next season in a three-team deal with the Memphis Grizzlies that saw the Wizards land point guard Tyus Jones. During his time with the Warriors, Poole, the 28th pick in the 2019 NBA draft, developed into a dynamic scoring guard, one who averaged about 25 points and 5 assists as a starter in 43 games this season. But Poole's season was overshadowed by Green punching him during a preseason practice, and after playing well in Golden State's run to the 2022 NBA championship, averaging 17 points on 51% shooting overall and 39% from three, his numbers slumped to 10.3 points on 34% shooting overall and 25.4% from three. Meanwhile, sources told Wojnarowski on Tuesday that Washington forward Kyle Kuzma, one of the more intriguing free agents on the market this summer, has declined his player option and will be an unrestricted free agent. The rich get richer, as the old saying goes. And, you think about the Golden State Warriors and you look at what would be a scary starting five when it comes to the Golden State Warriors. I mean, oh my goodness. They're automatically contenders. There is no question about that. They are automatically right up there as far as early favorites for next year go. No question about it. And we all know Chris Paul has been clamoring for that NBA championship. He may be the best player right now that has never won an NBA championship. And to think about how close he got 2 years ago. 2 years ago, he finally made it to the NBA Finals with the Phoenix Suns. Had the Milwaukee Bucks down 2-0 before the Bucks rallied to win 4 straight and win their first title in 50 years. Now Chris Paul very likely has his absolute best chance to win a championship. And, it was only last year for the Golden State Warriors since winning the NBA championship. They did have a few hard time years, but they finally, got back on the throne last year, beating Bullock Celtics in the process, and this is realistically now his absolute best chance to win an NBA championship. And the thought of him and Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, and if they can get Draymond Green to stay, I mean, yikes. Nobody's going to want to face that team. Nobody. You may as well just give them the Larry O'Brien now. I mean, it's scary. It's scary to think about. So, I don't know, man. So, but that was the first bomb that dropped earlier today, and then on top of that, well, we'll get into that. We'll get into the other one in a minute, but nonetheless, MF. I mean, Chris Paul, now a Golden State Warrior with Steph Curry and all those guys. Yikes!
And the funny thing is, Anthony, when we heard the trade, the one thing that was thinking in our minds was he wanted to go LA, he wanted to go West, he wanted it to go to, the thing was either he was going to go to the Lakers or he was going to the Clippers. None of us thought Golden State was even possible. And guess what? It was. And it is. Golden State right out of the gate. The minute they dumped Jordan Poole and picked up that deal, that was the opening that we saw where we're like, whoa, wait a minute. This just changed everything. And sure enough, here we are talking about the Golden State Warriors adding yet another piece to the puzzle. Now, it did cost them Jordan Poole. But the thing was, Jordan Poole was on borrowed time. A lot of people were thinking, After the poor performance that he had in the playoffs, where he was virtually non-existent in that series against the LA Lakers and got when the Lakers dumped him out. And a lot of people started pointing at Jordan Poole and saying he might have been the difference maker, that if he would have played a lot more better, maybe the Lakers does not get out of that series. But they did. They won it. They moved on. And a lot of people started throwing at him saying maybe they made a mistake. Maybe they gave too much money giving him that max contract, and that's going to be a bugaboo for them to get out of. Well, lo and behold, they got out of it. How they did it, we probably won't know. But the thing is now, with everything that went down, with all the moves that were made, that was a major, hats off to Golden State for taking the risk and going for it. And yeah, they immediately put themselves right back in position to possibly win the NBA championship again. They saw what happened a year ago. This past season was a little bit of a letdown, but the thing was, with Draymond and Jordan Poole, they had to break them up. After the drama that happened, after the video coming out of the fight that happened, you honestly felt in the back of your mind, there's no way that these two guys should be together and everything else. This should be a situation where they got to make a trade. They got to get rid. They got to do something because of the fact that they put themselves in that kind of a position. Now they cleared the deck on that. And Draymond opted out. So where does that lead them? Are they looking at a new stable, or do they try to get a situation where they're going to work and do some things differently? We don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. All we know is right now, Golden State, like you said, just put themselves in a real prime position to now become, once again, the favorites. And the thing is, the West is getting better. Now, Phoenix definitely has gotten better with the moves that they've made, and I know we'll address that in about a minute, Anthony. Golden State has gotten better, but the thing is this: what is Dallas? What are we going to get from Denver, the reigning champions? What are they going to look like? How are they going to? Because now that you won the title, now the question is, are you going to be able to keep the majority of the pieces together to make another run at this title again? We'll wait and see. The Lakers haven't done anything yet. We know they're going to make a move. The Clippers hasn't done anything yet. We know they are going to make a move. So the West is starting to look like it looks like there's going to be a free for all. And right now, Dallas needs to make a few moves. Denver right now, they're sitting pretty as the favorites, but Golden State and Phoenix, with the moves that they're making, they're closing that gap. And that's going to be something that they're going to be looking at as possibly trying to make yet another run at the NBA World title. So we'll see. We'll see. Anthony, it's yours.
All right, MF, let me start up with the other big trade. The Boston Celtics, Washington Wizards, and Memphis Grizzlies agreed to a 3-team trade late last night that sends Kristaps Porzingis to the Boston Celtics, guard Marcus Smart to the Memphis Grizzlies, and guard Tyus Jones to the Wizards, sources told ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski. As part of the deal, Memphis is sending Boston first-round pick in draft, the 25th overall selection, and the Golden State Warriors' top 4 protected first-round pick in 2024. Sources said while the Celtics are sending the 35th pick in tonight's draft to Washington, the Celtics are also sending forward Danilo Gallinari and center Mike Muscala to Washington as part of the deal, sources said. The three-team deal came together in the minutes leading up to a midnight Eastern deadline for Porzingis to opt into his $36 million player option for the 23-24 season. With the deal completed, Porzingis opted in, sources said. The trade capped a long day of negotiations involving the Celtics and Wizards over a possible Porzingis deal after the two teams first attempted to hammer out a three-team agreement with the LA Clippers that would have sent Malcolm Brogdon to Los Angeles, the 30th pick in the draft to the Wizards, and Porzingis to the Celtics. When that deal fell apart, Boston pivoted to talks with Memphis, allowing this deal to come together just before the deadline. All right, MF, how do we feel about this trade? Kristaps Porzingis, a Boston Celtic. How should Bullock be encouraged or discouraged by this?
It's a little bit of a mixed bag here because you're encouraged that you're getting Kristaps Porzingis. You need shooting. That's the one thing, and I think even our former colleague Derek Ferreira would even agree. They needed shooting. Shooting was really the biggest problem for the Boston Celtics. They can drive the lane. They can get the blocks, the rebounding. The defense was really good, but they couldn't shoot a three-pointer if their life depended on it. And you know that absolutely for sure. Look what happened in the Eastern Conference Finals. Look what happened during the series against Philadelphia. They were really there was some games where they were really, really good at shooting, but man, if they had an off night, they were off. You now got a guy who can help you out, had a career year in points, assists, rebounding, but the real thing that's gonna help and make Kristaps Porzingis a great fit is the shooting. He's a great three-point shooter. He was averaging almost 36% from three-point range. That's great. He was a 40 to 41% shooter from the field. He was averaging about 85, close to 90 free throws. That is exactly what Boston needs. They needed a shooter, and now you got a sharpshooter that could really knock it down from anywhere on the court. But it did cost them Marcus Smart, a very good defensive player. And that is where the problem is going to lie. Because of the fact that with that move, that is going to cost them a defensive that could make them a little bit of a liability defensive-wise. And you lose depth in the point guard position. That is also a problem that Boston is going to be running into now because Marcus Smart filled the gaps. He was a great assist guy. He was a great guy that, was what could get you that steal, who could get you the great plays that he could do. The only reason why they lost the Brogdon trade fell apart was because, unbeknownst to all of us, Brogdon got hurt. Brogdon had actually an injury that was never disclosed, and Boston tried to push that trade through. Once word got out that, wait a minute, Brogdon failed a physical because he was actually injured, that's when the trade fell apart. So what the hell was Boston doing? Why were they trying to put a hurt and damaged Malcolm Brogdon into a trade for something like that? That is very fishy. That is very suspect. And I hope the NBA investigates the Boston Celtics for that, because I think there's some shenanigans going on in Boston. And the only reason why I'm saying this now is because I could get away with it because Michael Bullock is not here. Or Derek Ferreira is not here either, because I know they would be like, what do you mean about this? Because I think there's some shady stuff going on in Boston. I'm just saying. But as far as the trade goes, it was necessary. They needed to get it done. I'm happy that Boston did it. They got their guy. They got their player. They got what they needed to get. Congratulations, Boston. Well done. You got yourself a guy that you desperately needed, and this was a necessary need. So nothing more to say. Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah. For the Celtics, the deal presents a radical shift in what their team will look like. Porzingis, who will turn 28 on August 2nd, had arguably the best season of his NBA career this past year in Washington, averaging a career-high 23.2 points to go along with 8.4 rebounds, almost 3 assists and 2 blocks in 65 games. The 4th overall pick in the 2015 NBA draft by the New York Knicks was playing his first full season in Washington after the Wizards traded for him at last year's trade deadline, sending Spencer Dinwiddie and Davis Bertans to the Dallas Mavericks in exchange. Now he is off to Boston, where the Celtics are attempting to retool their roster to make another run at an 18th NBA championship. Porzingis will give the Celtics an entirely different offensive dimension alongside stars Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, in addition to Boston landing those 2 first-round selections. Acquiring Porzingis was the first of several big decisions ahead for the Celtics this summer, as Boston also can offer Brown, an all-star forward, a 5-year, $295 million contract extension, and has to sort out the future restricted free agent forward Grant. Boston will also adjust to life without Smart, who has been the heart of the team throughout 9 years with the franchise. He was the longest tenured player on the roster and one of the league's best and most versatile perimeter defenders, which was recognized by his winning the 21-22 Defensive Player of the Year award. All the things that made Smart so valued in Boston are exactly what the Grizzlies will be looking for him to provide in Memphis as they try to bounce back from a first-round playoff exit against the Los Angeles Lakers this past season. Smart, who averaged a career-high 6.3 assists a game last season, will also be more than capable of stepping into the starting point guard role for Memphis while Ja Morant is serving his suspension over the first 25 games of the season. It had been anticipated that Jones would fill in for Morant. Instead, Jones will now be the starting point guard in Washington, where new president of basketball operations, Michael Winger, continues to remake the team's roster. This is the second significant trade the Wizards have made in the space of a few days, after completing the blockbuster deal to send Bradley Beal to the Phoenix Suns on Sunday for Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, several second-round picks, and first-round pick swaps. Meanwhile, sources told Adrian Wojnarowski on Tuesday that Washington forward Kyle Kuzma, one of the more intriguing free agents on the market this summer, declined his player option, and he will be an unrestricted free agent. So, it's going to be very interesting to see how this all goes down going into the next season. That's a big loss for Boston, but, I would have loved to have picked Bullock's brain on this one. I would have loved to have gotten his thoughts on it, but, he's not here yet. But if he does come in, like I said, we'll catch him up and we'll get his thoughts. Or if not, then maybe another day. But for right now, that's the story when it comes to the trades there. So with that, we move on now to some very exciting news in the world of hockey. Yesterday, the announcement was made of the 2023 Hockey Hall of Fame class. And this Hockey Hall of Fame class 2023 is the year of the goaltender. Finders, Henrik Lundqvist, Tom Barrasso, and Mike Vernon all been selected for the Hockey Hall as announced today. They joined former NHL center Pierre Turgeon and Canadian women's hockey star Caroline Ouellette, as well as coach Ken Hitchcock and the late Pierre Lacroix, who built 2 Stanley Cup champions with the Colorado Avalanche in 1996 and 2001. Lundqvist was a first eligible Hall candidate, a 6th in NHL career win, 159, 9 games played, 887, and 11th in career save percentage at 918. Lundqvist won the Vezina Trophy as the NHL's top goaltender in 2011 and 12 and was a finalist for the award a total of 5 times. He was also a finalist for the Hart Trophy as league MVP in 2011-12. What really put Lundqvist over the top was his international success. He led Team Sweden to Olympic men's hockey gold in the 2006 Turin Games and silver in the 2014 Sochi Games. He won gold at the IIHF World Championship in 2017 and bronze at the 2016 World Cup of Hockey. Lundqvist played his entire career with the New York Rangers. He signed a free contract with the Washington Capitals in 2020, but did not play as his career was cut short by a heart condition. Lundqvist said yesterday, growing up as a kid, thinking about players in the Hall of Fame, it was such a big inspiration to me. It's why I started playing hockey. Even thinking about Tom and Mike, I remember having posters on the wall of both of those guys. Tom Barrasso has been eligible since 2006. He won back-to-back Stanley Cups with the Pittsburgh Penguins in 1991 and 1992. In 1983-84, he was the Rookie of the Year and won the Vezina Trophy as the NHL's best goaltender with the Buffalo Sabres. His 369 wins is 20th all-time. Mike Vernon has been eligible since 2005. He led two different teams to the Stanley Cup, the Calgary Flames in 1989 and the Detroit Red Wings in 1997. When Vernon won the Conn Smythe Trophy as the most valuable player of those 1997 Stanley Cup playoffs. His 385 NHL wins ranks 16th all-time. Vernon said, "The game has meant a lot to me throughout my life. I'm just flabbergasted." Pierre Turgeon has been eligible since 2010. He played 1,294 games in the NHL with 6 teams, the majority of them with the Buffalo Sabres and St. Louis Blues. His 515 career goals ranks 40th all-time, and his 1,327 career points ranks 34th. Turgeon never won an international hockey medal, never won the Stanley Cup, and won only a single individual award in the NHL. MF, and of all awards, MF, it was our favorite award, the Lady Byng Trophy for gentlemanly play in 92-93. He said, "It's crazy that I played hockey for a living and I still play. And I still go out there twice a week because I love the game so much." Caroline Ouellette was in her second year of eligibility. The forward is one of only 5 athletes to win a gold medal in 4 consecutive Winter Olympics, helping Canadian women to the top of the podium in 2002, 2006, 2010, and 2004, along with an Olympic silver medal in 1998. She also won 6 gold medals in the IIHF Women's World Championship. Ouellette had a 2.36 points per game average in 97 games with the University of Minnesota Duluth. She also won the 2009 Clarkson Cup with the Montreal Stars, becoming only one of 3 players to win the Clarkson Cup, Olympic gold, World's gold. The others are Haley Wickenheiser and Jana Hefford, both Hall of Famers. Since 2010, when women's players earned their own category, there has only been one induction class that included more than one women's player. Ken Hitchcock is 4th in career NHL wins with 849 and 7th in games coached with 1,598. Hitchcock led the 1998-99 Dallas Stars to their first and to this day only Stanley Cup championship, and then won another Western Conference championship again the following season. Hitchcock also coached the Philadelphia Flyers, Columbus Blue Jackets, St. Louis Blues, and Edmonton Oilers. He also served as an assistant coach for the 2014 Canadian Olympic national team, which won gold. He said, "My career started in minor hockey coaching kids. To reach this stage is almost overwhelming to me." Pierre Lacroix passed away in 2020. He was the president and general manager of the Quebec Nordiques and then followed them when they relocated to Colorado. His bold moves as Avalanche GM included the acquisitions of Hall of Famers Patrick Waugh, Ray Bourque, and Rob Blake. Led the Stanley Cup wins in 1996 and 2001. His son Marty said, "It's been a long time coming. I'm sure my father today is overwhelmed. I know he wanted this badly, so thank you to everybody." Among the players who didn't make the cut this season were winger Alexander Mogilny, centers Rod Brind'Amour, Patrick Elias, Jeremy Roenick, Keith Tkachuk, Henrik Zetterberg, defenseman Sergei Gonchar, goalie Curtis Joseph, and women's players Megan Duggan and Jennifer Botterill. Eligible players must have played their last game at least 3 years ago. They must receive at least 75% of the Hockey Hall of Fame selection committee. A maximum of 4 men's players, 2 women players, and 2 builders are inducted each year. The selection committee consists of 18 individuals appointed by the board of directors. Among the committee members are former players such as Mike Carr, chairman, Ron Francis, Key Granado, and Igor Larionov. Hockey executives such as Brian Burke, Mark Chipman, and David Boyle, and media members such as Bob McKenzie. The induction celebration is scheduled for November 13th at the Hall of Fame in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. First things first, congratulations to all the inductees. The only one I really didn't really follow was Caroline Ouellette. I really don't follow the women's game that much, but she definitely was, a big success. Yeah, she had a fantastic career from what I just read after I read the resume there. Everybody else I have heard of. Pierre Lacroix, the architect of those 2 Stanley Cups in 1996 and 2001 for the Colorado Avalanche. Getting Patrick Waugh there was one of the many reasons why they won the Cup in 96. Of course, 2001, that was because of Raymond Bourque and Rob Blake, 2 of the best players to never win a Stanley Cup, and they both finally won it in 2001. Raymond Bourque, we all agree that to this day is still the most emotionally charged Stanley Cup win of all time. That right up there with the 94 Rangers, of course. And then from there, Pierre Turgeon, one of the best players to never win a Stanley Cup. I mean, I definitely remember his career. He was, MF and I grew up watching him. Great goal scorer. It's just a damn shame he never won a Stanley Cup. I mean, like I said, he was one of the best to never win it. And, he was best known for his days in Buffalo and St. Louis, had some great careers there. Kenny Hitchcock, of course, the architect, the head coach, rather, of the Dallas Stars. When the Dallas Stars, won the Stanley Cup in 1999, even though the goal that won it for him was very controversial, that infamous Brett Hull triple overtime goal in Game 6 against Buffalo, and but by hook or crook, he won. He did win a Stanley Cup. I mean, he got them back to the finals the following year in 2000, but they lost in 6 games to the New Jersey Devils. We all remember that. And one of the greatest coaches of all time. He had great success everywhere, but Dallas was his most successful venture. I mean, those teams in the late 90s and early 2000s, they were fun to watch. Those teams that had Mike Modano and Joe Nieuwendyk and Darian Hatcher, Jamie Langenbrunner, Eddie Belfour. I mean, those were fun teams in the late 90s and 2000s. And he was one of the main reasons why they had that success. And as far as the goalies go, the 3 goalies who are headlining it, I mean, Mike Vernon, the winner of the Conn Smythe Trophy in 1997 with the Detroit Red Wings, helping the Red Wings win their first Stanley Cup at that time after 42 years. I mean, he was one of the many reasons why they won that Stanley Cup, in addition to, of course, all the legends and Hall of Famers who played for that team, Stevie Y and Sergei Fedorov and Brendan Shanahan and Scotty Bowman and all those guys. And he was one of the many reasons why. And especially after what he did in the postseason. I mean, he went 16-4 with a 1.76 goals against, a 27 save percentage, and a shutout. So that's one of the reasons why. Tommy Barrasso, I mean, those Penguin teams in the 90s, whether you liked them or you didn't, you damn sure had to respect them because they were fun to watch too. I mean, he was the goalie. They had Mario Lemieux, Jaromir Jagr, Ronnie Francis, and those teams that won back-to-back Stanley Cups in 1991 and then in 1992. Heavy favorites in 93, but then they got upset in the second round by the New York Islanders, and they weren't really the same after that. I mean, they had some good years here and there. Got to the conference finals in 96 before losing to Florida, and then they didn't really do anything after that until Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin and all them got there. But nonetheless, Brasso, a former Vezina Trophy winner, 83, 84. I didn't even know that. With the Buffalo Sabres, I mean, I best remember him from his time with Pittsburgh, and I know MF and Bullock feel the same way about that. And last but certainly not least, we saved the best for last, the best in the world, and I will forever call him the greatest and best player to never win a Stanley Cup, Henrik Lundqvist. All those incredible years he had with the New York Rangers, and MF and I, back when we were covering the Rangers, I would always refer to him as the best in the world, and still do refer to him as the best in the world, and run down his numbers. And I'm glad he got a Vezina trophy at least, and of course also won the gold medal, a couple of gold medals here and there, and the year that he won the Vezina Trophy, he was also a finalist for the Hart Memorial Trophy as the league's most valuable player. He definitely should have gotten a look at that. But of course, we had those great seasons in the sun, and F and I best remember it. 2012, of course, 2014. That was the season in the sun when the New York Rangers made that surprise run to the Stanley Cup Finals. And I just, it gutted me when, MF too, don't get me wrong, but I was gutted when the Los Angeles Kings won that Stanley Cup. I wanted it so bad, not only for MF, but I wanted it bad for him and those great players on that team. But, it was what it was. Those great seasons we had, 2012 and 2014 and 2015, that was when Lundqvist was there. Of course, last year, but that wasn't really Henrik Lundqvist. That was Igor Shesterkin. But I'm hopeful that Igor Shesterkin can duplicate the same success that the King had. But he was the heart and soul of those New York Ranger teams. And, he was so beloved in that community. And, a great fan base. It wasn't just the fans. It was also his peers as well. Nobody ever had a bad word to say about him. And how could you not? Not only was he a great player on the ice, but he was a gentleman off the ice as well. And now he's doing some great things, working as we saw him working as an analyst for TNT Sports during their Stanley Cup playoff coverage and in the finals as well. That great panel that all included Wayne Gretzky. And of course, he also worked with MSG, doing some work during the Rangers there. And I was also good when I heard that he was getting traded to Washington, but he never played a game for them. That was because he had a heart condition that forced him to retire. And in one sense, I was kind of glad because of the fact that I never wanted to see him in a uniform other than the New York Rangers, and to see him in another uniform, let alone a division rival like the Washington Capitals, and that would not have gelled with me, and not with MF either. But I'm glad they caught that condition when they did, and that he's doing much better, and he's doing some great things as an analyst, and I hope and pray that if one day the New York Rangers ever win a Stanley Cup, that they give him an honorary ring. I want to see that. We've seen teams do that many times in sports. And I would love to see him get a ring if the Rangers, God forbid, ever win a Stanley Cup. And who knows? Maybe that could happen with Peter Laviolette coming in. We'll find out. But Henrik Lundqvist, man, he's the headliner, obviously, and rightfully so. All the history he made in New York and those great seasons in the sun. Of course, 2014, MF and I will never forget that one as long as we live. And that's our most memorable one to this day. The only way it'll be surpassed is if, like I said, God forbid, they win a Stanley Cup. Which I believe one day they will. Hope it was before the Lord calls us home. But for right now, there isn't much more for me to say except congratulations to all of these very deserving men and women to get inducted into this Hall of Fame class, and they'll take their rightful place coming up on November the 13th at the Hockey Hall of Fame in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And there isn't much more for me to say except Doc, MF, the Doc to my Enzo, the Gary Thorne to my Bill Clement. We basically covered almost all these guys with the exception of Caroline Ouellette. We didn't really know much about her, but growing up, since we started, getting into hockey, we covered a lot of these guys, like the Pierre Turgeons and the Barrassos and the Mike Vernons and the Pierre Turgeons But of course, Henrik Lundqvist. I mean, we're happy for all of them. Don't get me wrong, but the minute we heard Henrik Lundqvist was going in, you couldn't help but feel like Ric Flair. You had a tear in your eye, didn't you?
When the word got out, because I was actually here yesterday at home when we heard, because I was fortunate that Wednesdays and Sundays are normally my days off, and I heard that the Hockey Hall of Fame was going to be announced today, that day. So I was like, all right, we'll see. I'm a little interested. I wanted to see because I was hearing some names and guys who were eligible and guys who were that we were thinking could possibly get in and who. So I was hoping for the best. I was like, all right, let's see what happens. And then the announcements started coming out. Tom Barrasso. Um, and I was like, wow, Barrasso. I was like, man. I was like, I thought he was already in the Hall of Fame. I could have sworn he got in a long time ago. And I was like, no, they said this was his first time around. So I was like, wow, holy crap. All right. And of course, obviously, the next name that we were hearing, Mike Vernon, and I'm like, oh wow. So then you start hearing Vernon's name, then Pierre Turgeon, then Ken Hitchcock. When Hitchcock went in, I was like, good, I'm happy for him. Then, like you said, Pierre Lacroix. Once he got in, you started hearing names, and you're like, wow, these are they 5 modern day players, 2 builders, basically guys who contributed and was influential to the game. Pierre Lacroix and Ken Hitchcock both deserve it as builders. Obviously Ken Hitchcock, head coach of the Dallas Stars, winning the Stanley Cup. And yes, you could even say that it was a controversial way that they won the cup, but they did win it. Then you have Pierre Lacroix, and he built the thing. He built the squad. Unfortunately, he's not around with us. He passed away, I think, a year or two ago. Before he would even be realized that he's going to the Hall of Fame. There was a lump in the throat moment for us yesterday when Mike Gardner and the official committee members talked to his wife Coco and basically letting her know that Pierre was going into the Hall of Fame. And you could hear the tears, you could hear the emotion, the overcome of joy to know that her husband is going into the Hall of Fame. And I'll openly admit it kind of got me. Because the thing is that you don't think about it. As a player, you think about winning gold medals, winning the Stanley Cup, winning, every accolade. You don't think of individual accolades, you think of team goals. So, like, for instance, like you said, for Henrik Lundqvist, he never got to hoist the Stanley Cup. However, he did win gold. He won gold in the World Championships. He was a medalist in the Olympic Games, which, if you think about it, in men's hockey, they'll even say it. Yes, the Stanley Cup is the greatest gift, or is the Holy Grail. However, if you can say I am a gold medal winner from the Olympic Games, are you kidding me? That holds a lot of weight, more than anything we know. So for us, that was the greatest feat and everything else. So Barrasso, Vernon, Hitchcock, Lacroix, Pierre Turgeon, yes. For Caroline Ouellet, it's because unfortunately there was at the time no women's professional hockey league. So her success is based through the Olympics, through the World Championships. That's how the women have been measured. But let's be realistic. Caroline Ouellet is one of the greatest women hockey players from Canada. She is a dominant force and was an absolute menace for her time. That's why I think a lot of people consider her a Hall of Famer and everything else, and rightfully deserved for her success, what she brought to the table, and what she did. It was definitely one of those type of stars more than anything else. And here's the reason why I say this: 4-time Olympic gold medal winner, 6-time world championship gold medal winner. So right then and there, already she set it herself up as already a Hall of Famer. And on top of that, they had the NWHL and the CWHL, which is basically women's professional leagues, and she has become a driving force. So for her to be into the Hall of Fame is absolutely worthy of the moment more than anything else. So there's really nothing more to say on that. Of course, Terjan, Anthony, you alluded the 515 goals, the 820, the 812 assists, 1,327 points, and yes, of course, you know that is one of the awards that is very near and dear to our heart, the Lady Byng Award. Even though the players do not like it, I want to let you guys know it's an inside joke for me and Anthony Florio because of the Lady Byng, because we kind of love to be gentlemen more than anything else. Do the right thing. Don't try not to cause any trouble. Try not to stir the pot. Where hockey players, they're meant to be a little more rougher on the edges. So when you get this gentle manly award, the Lady Byng, it's kind of a snicker, a ha ha he kind of a snicker. And some of the players, they do not like this award. I don't know why, but out of all of the awards they could get, the Lady Byng is kind of, I don't even know how to even describe it. But I've heard a lot of guys like, yeah, I'm happy I earned this, but I didn't really want to win this award. So I don't know. I mean, that it's kind of a nod, wink, wink type of a thing. I don't know. But anyway, all the people are well deserving. The Hall of Famers are great. Lundqvist, dude, you already know I got a jersey of Henrik Lundqvist in my room at my house. So you already know my love affair for the king. Anthony calls him the best in the world. He was the best in the world. We call him king. We call him the king or your royal highness, Henrik, and he deserves it. He got his greatest moment by getting his number 30 in the rafters of Madison Square Garden. His name is going to be retired. Now we get to add yet another great moment. Hall of Famer. Nothing more to say. It's a great moment for us. Very happy for him. Congratulations, guys and lady. Michael Bullock, welcome to the show. I guess Anthony's got to catch you up, and then we'll get going. So, Floyo, go.
And while you're in the lull there, MF, get your big three ready because you're going to be getting in on that.
Sure enough, I even got a big announcement for you all in a little bit, but until then, Floyo, it's yours.
Okay. Can't wait to hear that announcement. All right, Michael Bullock, come on in, front and center. Let's get you in here, get you caught up here. We talked about the two big trades that went down in the NBA. The first one with this big trade that came out just today, when several days after agreeing to send Bradley Beal to the Phoenix Suns in exchange for a package including Chris Paul, the Washington Wizards agreed to send Chris Paul to the Golden State Warriors today for Jordan Poole, according to Adrian Wojnarowski. And the Wizards also receiving a protected 2030 first round pick and a 2027 second round pick from Golden State in the deal. So Michael Bullock, God, Chris Paul, a Golden Warrior with that stacked lineup. Yikes.
Yeah, I mean, you add Chris Paul to that already stacked lineup. I mean, obviously especially with Steph Curry, but of course the thing is, I mean, you don't have Draymond Green because he declined his option and is now a free agent. Now, is there a chance he could possibly return to Golden State? Maybe, but we'll wait and see on that. But yeah, I mean, adding Chris Paul, I mean, that's big for them. So whether it leads to big things, we'll wait and see.
Yeah, indeed. And then of course the other big trade that significantly affected your team there, Bullock, the Boston Celtics. Your Celtics, the Washington Wizards, and the Memphis Grizzlies agreed to a 3-team trade late last night that sent Kristaps Porzingis to the Celtics. You lost Marcus Smart to the Memphis Grizzlies and guard Tyus Jones to the Wizards. And as part of that deal, Memphis is giving Boston its first-round pick in tonight's draft, the 25th overall selection, and the Golden State Warriors' top 4 protected first-round pick in 2024, while the Celtics are sending the 35th pick in tonight's draft to Washington. And your Celtics also sent Danilo Gallinari and center Mike Muscala to Washington as part of the deal, So you lost Marcus Smart, unfortunately. That's the bad news. But the good news is you got Kristaps Porzingis coming in. How about it?
Yeah, I mean, now you add another big guy to add with Time Lord. So now the question is, I mean, what's going to happen with that? Do you put Kristaps Porzingis as a starter and have Time Lord come off the bench? Or there's so many things they could do with this, but yeah, the thing that hurt, I mean, losing Marcus Smart, of course, in that trade to the Grizzlies, I mean, the thing I'll miss more about him is his defense, because remember, a season ago he was the defensive player of the year, but I think now this may open up an opportunity for Derek White to possibly be the starter. So to me, I think the Celtics are going to be fine. I mean, I think they'll still be in contention for an NBA championship next season. But yeah, I mean, you had a big guy who can really he could shoot it from 3-point range, from what I've heard when it comes to this. So you lose one big name, but you do add another one. So yeah, so I mean, what did you think of this trade, Florio?
Well, it definitely shakes the landscape of Boston. I mean, with Marcus Smart, I mean, who was the longest tenured member of the Celtics, and I mean, it's gonna suck losing him because of how great he was on the defensive side, and he had a lot of clutch buckets over the last couple of years, especially last year when you went on that magical run to the finals.
Yeah, that's true, but like I said, I mean, maybe this could open up the opportunity for Derek White to maybe be the starter, because remember, this past season he was in the starting lineup, so this could be an opportunity for him.
And we'll never forget the putback heard around the world in Game 6 against Miami.
Yeah, that sent it to a Game 7.
Yep, and oh boy, did the sky fall after that. But it is what it was. So
yeah, story for another day.
Yeah, story for another day. And as you came in, we talked about the announcement of the 2023 Hockey Hall of Fame class. Henrik Lundqvist, Tom Barrasso, Mike Vernon, Pierre Turgeon, Caroline Ouellette, Ken Hitchcock, and the late Pierre Lacroix. The class of 2023 for the Hockey Hall of Fame, who will be who will be enshrined in the Hockey Hall of Fame in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, come November 13th.
I'll tell you what, I mean, I think this is a very deserving class. I mean, especially with your boy, Florio, Joran Fletcher's boy, Henrik Lundqvist.
Yes,
I mean, and I'm with you. I mean, he's probably one of the best players to have never won the Stanley Cup. I mean, he came close. He came close. I think it was in 2014?
Yes, 2014. They made it to the finals, but got their hearts ripped out by the LA Kings.
Yeah. I mean, that was the closest he got to winning a Stanley Cup, but that didn't happen. But to me, he was the heart and soul of that New York Rangers team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a much deserving honor for him. I mean, Ken Hitchcock, I mean, he coached the Dallas Stars, of course, some of those great Dallas Stars teams that they had back in the day. And yeah, Pierre Turgeon, I mean, but all in all, a great class here. Can't wait to see what happens in November. So congratulations to the entire class. So there's really nothing more for me to add on to it, except I think if Fletch is ready, I think it's time for him to preview the Big Three.
Big Three starts this weekend, and we turn the mic over to the voice of the Big Three, the one and only good old MF, Michael Fletcher. And MF, can you believe it's already here? Another season of Big Three basketball getting ready to tip off this weekend. And I believe it's scheduled to tip off at the United Center in Chicago, if I'm not mistaken. So
yes, it is.
Okay, so the UC, Madhouse on Madison. First, you had AEW Collision, the premiere of that last Saturday night, and now this weekend you go from that to the Big Three. So, all right, MF, let's start it off. The return of a submission here on TXN Sports World. MF's big report, front and center.
Yes, indeed, and we will be going big on this one. It is another Big Three season. We started out with another 8 weeks of regular season action. The week number 9 will be held at the Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C. And this year, guys, for only the second time ever, the Big Three is going outside of the United States for the championship. But for the first time ever, we're going across the pond. O2 Arena, London, England, is the home of the Big Three Finals. It will be held on Saturday, August 26th. That will be held at the O2 in London. First time ever they're going to across the pond. And like I said, the second time ever they're doing this, because the last time they did it, they went to Sandals Resort. They actually went to the Atlantis. The Atlantis that's out in the Caribbean. So they were at the Atlantis for the first for a Big Three final, and now they're going to the O2 in London. That is where the finals will be held. So for all our friends in the UK, Big Three's coming, guys. Get ready. So we'll see you guys in August at the end of August. All games will be on CBS and Paramount Plus. They all will have the games. So that's your official home. If you want any Big Three, go to Paramount Plus or log on to CBS. That's where you'll get to see it. It's on the mothership, as Anthony Florio likes to say. All right. Now, the games. What are we going to get? Well, here they are. Kicking it off, starting at roughly 1 p.m. East, on the Big Three, we will have the reigning and defending champions, the Trilogy. They will start their campaign going up against the Enemies. That is game number 1. Game number 2 will be the Triplets that is head coached by the lovely Lisa Leslie. They're going to be going up against the Bivouac. They will be going up against Bivouac. That's Gerald Green. That's Corey Brewer. And, of course, they're new guys with Ryan Hollins and John Jordan. That is head coached by the Glove, Gary Payton. Then in game number 3, it will be the three-headed monsters. They will be going up against Power. Of course, Power, former Big 3 champions in their right. And, of course, the legendary head coach, Nancy Lieberman, leading that troops into battle. Then we got the Bullhawks. They're going up against the Aliens. That's going to be their 4th game. Game number 5. Anthony, your favorite team. You love them. Three's Company. Head coach by Michael Cooper. Of course, their stars, Mario Chalmers, Michael Beasley, and Brandon Rush. They will be taking up, and they're going to be going up against Mike. They're going to be going up against Mike Taylor, Jonathan Simmons, and the Ghost Ballers. That's head coach by the Iceman, George Gervin. And the final game of the day, it will be the Killer Threes. They will be going up against Tri-State, and of course, Tri-State, Jason Richardson, and the Sean Stevens, of course, their head coach, one of the greatest that played it, former ABA world champion, former NBA world champion, also a Hall of Famer in his own right, Dr. J. Julius Irving. So that's the lineup. That's the games. As you guys know, Big 3, there is no play clock. There is a 14-second shot clock. First team to 50 wins it. Or if it gets really tight, then you got to win by 2. Of course, there's the 2-point, the 3-point, the 4-point shot. That's all been included as well. 3-on-3 basketball, half-court setup. And guys, we got ourselves a good one. Starts out in the UC this week. And just to let you guys know, just for some of you fans out there, Dallas, you're getting a game coming up. They're going to be at the Barclays. They're going to be at the FedEx Forum. There's going to be one at in Miami, the Coachella Center. And yes, for the first time since season 1 of the Big 3, guys, they're coming to TD Garden in Boston, Massachusetts. Yes, they're coming to Boston. Sunday, July 30th, TD Garden, Boston, Massachusetts. Dude, TD Garden, Boston, let's go. Oh, man, it's going to be wild. Of course, Spectrum Center and Little Caesars Arena. The playoffs will be held at the Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C. And then, of course, the finals, O2, London. Get ready. God save the king. We are coming to your house. Get the tea, get the crumpets, get everything set it up. We might even do a gentleman bow to the king if we get there. But whatever the case may be, Big 3, the homies are falling out for the whole damn summer. We're back, better than ever, stronger than ever, with fans, and we're back in the traditional arenas where it's meant to be played. Get ready, Big 3. We'll see you guys. And, of course, next week, I recap week 1 to set up week 2. Florio, it's yours.
Wow. That's big news indeed to hear that the Big 3 will be coming to Boston. And I just noticed one of the games for that day, Three's Company goes up against the defending champions trilogy. Oh, boy. That's not going to be easy. I will say that for sure right now. So, we'll wait and see what happens. So, can't wait to hear all about it. And now we move on to the main event of the evening, a preview of the USFL playoffs. The USFL playoffs start this weekend, and so just give me one moment here. Okay, I got it right here. All right. The 2023 USFL playoffs are set to begin this weekend after the final 3 playoff spots were clinched in week number 10. The Pittsburgh Maulers clinched their berth in the North Division Championship with an impressive win over the New Jersey Generals last Saturday, while the Michigan Panthers pulled off an incredible 14-point comeback on Sunday night over the Philadelphia Stars to punch their ticket to the North Division title. Finally, the New Orleans Breakers defeated the Memphis Gamblers on Sunday afternoon to capture the final playoff spot in the South Division. The USFL playoffs begin on Saturday night with the North Division Championship between the Pittsburgh Maulers and the Michigan Panthers at Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium at 8 o'clock over on NBC. And it wraps up Sunday night with the South Division Championship between the New Orleans Breakers and MF's Birmingham Stallions at Protective Stadium, 7 p.m. Eastern over on Fox. So let's start with our first game, the North Division Championship game. The Michigan Panthers squaring off against the Pittsburgh Maulers from Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium in Canton, Ohio, 8 p.m. Eastern, Saturday night on NBC. Pittsburgh Maulers opening up as a 3-point favorite. Michael Bullock, we kick it off with you. Who do you got going to the championship game when it comes to this North Division matchup?
Who's the favorite here?
The Michigan Panthers and the Pittsburgh Maulers.
Well, who's the favorite, I said.
Oh, I'm sorry. The Pittsburgh Maulers are 3-point favorites.
Yeah, I think this should be a good game here, and yeah, it could go either way, but I'm gonna go with the Pittsburgh to win this one by 3 here. So there's nothing more to say. It is yours, Florio.
The Panthers and Maulers punched their tickets to the postseason with impressive wins over the Stars and Generals, respectively, last weekend. Both of those teams played in the USFL North Division Championship game last summer. But after this weekend, either the Panthers or Maulers will be one step closer to winning a title despite having a sub-500 record. These two teams played each other 2 weeks ago when the Maulers won 19-7. Pittsburgh's defense dominated, forcing quarterback Josh Love into 4 interceptions. That's all the Maulers needed as they won the time of possession with quarterback Troy Williams and leaned on kicker Chris Blewett, who was 4 of 4 on field goals. We should see a much more competitive game on Saturday night. The Panthers have found a spark with quarterback E.J. Perry, who made his first USFL start last weekend and executed the necessary plays to help Michigan upset Philly. The former Browns standout produced 169 yards of total offense and a rushing touchdown in the playoff clinching win. Perry's mobility brings a new element to the Panthers' offense. Pittsburgh's defense will try to force Perry into a couple of turnovers on Saturday night after finishing the regular season first in turnover margin at +8. I don't expect Saturday's game to be high scoring as the over-under is set for 38.5. The total points scored in the 2 regular season meetings were 26 and 30 respectively, but I still like the Maulers to win outright on Saturday night and advance to the USFL title game behind a late stop from their front 7. 17-15, the Pittsburgh Maulers defeat the Michigan Panthers and advance to the USFL championship game. So, all right, MF, who do you got in the North Division title game with Pittsburgh and Michigan?
I actually am in a full agreement. I think Pittsburgh is going to win. Like you said, I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. It's not going to be a very high octane. I think the defenses will definitely rise up. This is not going to be – I think this is going to be more of a defensive battle more than anything else. And if that's the case, Pittsburgh should win this one going away. So I got Pittsburgh winning, going to the finals. Anthony, back to you.
And now we move on to the South Division Championship game. Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern over on Fox. The New Orleans Breakers squaring off against the defending champions, the Birmingham Stallions. Birmingham opening up as a 2.5-point favorite. To wrap up playoff weekend, we have a rematch of last year's South Division title game between the Breakers and Stallions. The Stallions and Breakers split the season series with Birmingham winning the last meeting in Week 7, 24-20. Birmingham ended the regular season on a 5-game winning after they defeated the Memphis Showboats. I forgot to mention it was, I mentioned I called them the Memphis Gamblers by mistake. It's the Houston Gamblers. Birmingham ended the season on a 5-game winning streak after they defeated the Memphis Showboats 27-20 last week. The Breakers defense has the tall task of limiting all USFL quarterback Alex McGuff, who finds ways to keep plays alive. In their final regular season meeting in Week 7, McGuff completed almost 70% of his passes for 176 yards and a touchdown, while also adding a rushing touchdown. Running back CJ Marable had 17 carries, 86 yards, and he'll play an instrumental role in Sunday night's result, as the Breakers allowed 91 rushing yards a game during the regular season, third fewest in the USFL. Look out for all USFL tight end Jace Sternberger, who will likely be matched up against Breakers linebacker Vontae Diggs, who had 69 tackles, 3 interceptions, and 2.5 sacks in the regular season. Sternberger led all pass catchers with 7 touchdowns during the regular season. As for New Orleans, it must do a better job of scoring in the red zone. In their Week 7 defeat, the Breakers were 1 for 4 inside the 20. New Orleans also had 3 turnovers in that game, which cannot happen again on Sunday night. If quarterback McLeod Bethel Thompson can take care of the ball and get time in the pocket, the Breakers will put up points with their star-studded offense. It will be a back-and-forth contest between 2 big play offenses and opportunistic defenses. But I like the Stallions to make their second straight trip to the USFL title game. New Orleans has put up points over the last few weeks, scoring 24 per game, as a defense that can get the quarterback sacks. However, the Stallions aren't the Gamblers or Showboats, as their quarterback is playing at an MVP level. Birmingham's go shot for shot, and they're going to stop when it matters. And wins. Final score, 27-24. All right, MF, here we go. Can your Stallions do it again? Can they make it back-to-back, win the first 2 titles? Can they take their first step Sunday night?
I hope so, because, look, the way the Stallions been playing, it's not been the most dominating performances. It hasn't been the greatest thing in the world. But the thing is, they continue to play that style where they bend, but they don't break. And they've been playing this all year long. Every type of style we've been seeing, I think they're going to get the job done again. I kind of feel like this is like a team of destiny more than anything else. So when it's all said and done, give me the Birmingham Stallions to once again win the South. We're going to be heading back to try to successfully defend our title as the USFL World Champions. So I got the Stallions winning. Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I'm going to make it unanimous. I'm going with the defending champion Birmingham Stallions to win this one. So there's really nothing more to add on to it. So Florio, it's yours.
All right, and that will put the bow on this edition of TXN Sports World. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in as always. We'll be back with you Saturday night, 10:30, over on MF's channel, Brace Fan 95, for another edition of the all-new Saturday Night Cerebral Smack Talk, as we got a big show. We're going to be reviewing Friday Night SmackDown, as well as the second episode of AEW Collision. And then we will also be previewing the RWA, the big RWA show that goes down this Sunday that benefits the Special Olympics of Rhode Island. We'll get into that on Saturday night. And then we will also be previewing the AEW Forbidden Door pay-per-view. No word yet on when the recap will be. My guess is it'll probably be next Wednesday night on Madness. I wouldn't be surprised if that's where MF wants to, put that. We're more than fine with that. So if that's the case, then of course, after that, Saturday night will be Monday night, Ridiculously Raw, as we kick off Money in the Bank week. Monday Night Raw's go-home show for Money in the Bank. And, of course, my latest Tony's take on Impact Wrestling and NXT Level Up. And then we have Wednesday night, of course, Wednesday Night Madness. Maybe that's where we'll review the Forbidden Door pay-per-view in addition to NXT and AEW Dynamite. And then next week here on TXN Sports World, our annual NBA draft recap special, just like we do with the NFL draft, team by team, grades, the whole 9 yards, and time permitting. We will also have MF will have his week 2 installment of the Big Three, recap week 1, preview week 2, and then in the main event, it will be our preview of the USFL championship game. So, and that's it. So until Saturday night, for the Saturday Night Cerebral Smack Talk over on MF's channel, Brace Fan 95, it's Anthony Floyer here for good old MF Michael Fletcher and for Michael Bullock. And of course, always and forever, the first lady of our shows, Dee Dee Woodson. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, throw the porch and force style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed couple of days. And until Saturday night for the Saturday Cerebral Smack Talk, you've been watching TXN Sports World right here on the Zone 25 on YouTube and StreamYard.com. For everybody who has been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Florio. So long. Bye, everybody. Bye.